This is the Cinematography for Actors podcast.
More than a podcast, CFA is a vibrant community devoted to bridging the gap between talent and crew. Each week, our show offers transparent, insightful conversations with industry leaders. We unveil the magic behind the scenes, from candid discussions about unique filmmaking processes to in-depth technical exploration.
Join us in unraveling the intricacies of filmmaking one episode at a time. It's more than just cameras and lenses over here. We aim to inspire, educate, and empower as we peel back the curtain on the art of effective storytelling.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. All right. As a DP, I know purchasing gear can kind of be a nightmare. Whether you're talent or crew, finding technical solutions to any of your problems can be very challenging. And what's even harder is knowing where to go. So we have an answer for you. Head over to BandPro, one of our incredible sponsors here at CFA. Whether you're looking for high-end cameras and lenses or looking for guidance on what is needed to get started on this equipment journey of yours, BandPro has the gear and team that you need to thrive in your own career.
They are the exclusive representative of Ingenue's complete cinema line for all of North and South America, and their customer support is fantastic. Not only do they have a great team to answer any product question you might have, but they also have a talented team of in-house technicians that you can actually talk to get your equipment back up and running.
Which is really important, especially if you're on set. So,
yeah.
Bonus. Go to bandpro.com or stop in at their location in Burbank, and please make sure to say hi from CFA because we love them so very much.
Us.
Yeah, hello. Thanks, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another special AFI FEST episode of the Cinematography for Actors podcast. I'm your host, Haley Royal, and I'm here again with Florian Anderson as my co-host. And we're seated here with a big bunch of the team from the short film Skin. I have at my left Mojo Wen, who is production designer, Leo Behrens, writer, director, and DP, and Ilayda Cetinkaya, producer. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
We have lots of questions, but before we jump in, Leo, would you give us a little bit of a logline?
So Skin is a poetic exploration of identity and self-discovery using visual metaphors to kind of follow the journey of a woman who's transitioning into a man.
Speaking of visuals, I couldn't help but notice like the production design. Like it seems like everything was made from scratch. Can you talk to us about like the building of the set, the vision behind it?
Yeah, sure. Initially, Leo already have the scratch, which is a room connected to another ice ward room. The connection part is the mirror. So the mirror originally from his idea is already going through. So my job is to add in more magical visual thing to it. Initially, I told my friend I don't want to do any visual essay because it takes me so much time. Until I saw his pitch deck. It was 40 plus pages. Wow. And I was like...
I really tried to convince her to do it.
I was like...
Here's a Bible. What you can do visually.
The whole thing is like waiting for me to get my hands on. So I tell my friend, I'm sorry I have to break my promise that not doing anything. I'm doing it for Skin, whatever it takes.
So should I explain what a visual essay is?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
please.
thank you.
So all cinematographers at AFI have this assignment as a part of their competition of the school. They have to make a 3-minute 35mm film, and it has to have no dialogue, and it has to be shot on film. So all of them are very intense visually, since it's a cinematography assignment. That's why probably Mojo was like, I don't want to make 7 bills in a year. And even though our project for the school is 3 minutes long, the cut that we have at AFI FEST and that won the Student Academy Awards are both 7 minutes. It's like the director's longer cut with an original score.
More. Wow. All right. So we're getting a real treat here at AFI FEST is what we're saying. Leo, I would like to talk about that this story is autobiographical, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So were there things that you wanted to share, messages you wanted to make, but or also things you didn't want to share?
Well, so when I got this assignment, I was like, okay, you know what? I really like the idea of identity because it's such a essential part of humanity and who we are, and we keep like discovering and figuring out that. So I knew I wanted to do something about that. And the topic of trans is more, it's getting more familiar, but it's still not fully out there yet. And I was like, okay, this is a little bit of a different project because there's no dialogue. So how can I portray that emotion and that journey of like self-discovery through it's like I wanted to, externalize something that is very internal, and that's
Yes.
why the world is very abstract. So I spent a lot of time how to figure out how to actually show that through the visuals and like using symbolism to, you know, and I've never seen that before. I never seen a trans journey, in that way. But I hope it also speaks some sort of a universal language because being trans is not just about being trans; it's about being
Right.
human and self-discovery.
Yeah. One thing that like convinced me to break my promise is also because when I read this story, I immediately understand it's about self-finding, the sleeping self, finding, waking up, and then convince the one in the reality to be herself. So I don't say it as a like small group people's perspective.
Right.
It's yeah,
And
very.
it's a metaphor. That's the point I want to show. I want to show not only beautiful image. I want to show the like symbol with deep message, deep method.
And it's very universal, and I'd love for you guys to talk about the use of color and like how did you separate the two worlds and the meaning of that?
So, first of all, like, since it is towards the trans topic, I wanted to show, like, because the one world is very warm and worn and kind of like faded out and dead a little bit, and the other world, which is a manifestation kind of her inner identity. In a different world that is like filled with ice and snow and all these things, which naturally for me would be more of the blue color that is similar to ice and the coldness of that. But also, it's kind of the dualism of the character going, it's on the opposite sides of the color chart. So it's like the feminine, warmer side, and then you have the colder and like, bluer side. So I wanted to, make it very clear with the color that these are two different worlds, two different people, but they're still the same.
Yes.
And that's also why we have some elements of warmer colors in that ice world as he's waking up from the ice case.
Did color play into the makeup process at all?
Yes, it did because for the fake skin that we have, that needed to look like just the actual skin color.
Right.
But for the Iceman, we used like a gray bluish color to kind of elevate and make it believable that this person has been frozen for a long time and kind of coming to life. So it's a strong blue color as well. Yeah.
And speaking of makeup, what was the percentage of practical and VFX? Like, how did you merge the two?
And
so ready.
I am proud to say that every makeup you've seen on the actor in the film is SFX by our makeup artist Shai. They're an amazing makeup artist, and they specialize in SFX. And we did multiple makeup tests with them, but we didn't shoot the makeup tests on film. Leo can talk more about that, so we still weren't sure how exactly it's going to look on film. We also did makeup tests on our actors, so...
Yeah, I also want to add that before I actually went for this idea, the makeup artist is a friend of ours, and we involved them pretty early on to make sure, like, we asked them, is this even possible to do? Like, make fake skin and make it look real and natural? And they did multiple tests with us. So we got to like check, feel the materials. And then we actually they did the test on themselves and sent photos of like the whole peeling part.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that looks awesome. But then we had to test it with lights to make sure, okay, what's the best angles with lighting to make sure, because it does look fake, but since we were shooting on film, the film makes the texture a little bit softer.
Very forgiving.
So we had like a natural filter, almost like a soft filter, to and also flat lighting. My gaffer was like, no, we need more contrast, because I wanted that contrasty world. And I was like, sorry, I know you really like want to do that, but we gotta make it flat type of like beauty lighting for that part. So it's actually more contrasty in the beginning, and then it becomes a little softer. But that was mainly for the skin itself.
I love to hear about these technical elements that you use to make sure that you were getting, your story across. What sort of conversations were you having with your actor who, the card here says that this actor won an award at Sundance for Best Actor.
They did.
That's amazing. So I'm sure that they were able to take notes, understand conversations, and get certain things across. What were you discussing with them to make sure that they were on the same page with you?
So I remember one of the initial conversations we had on Zoom, because we had to do it on Zoom because they were actually at Sundance during the time we actually decided to do this together. And we had a longer meeting, and at the first question, I remember I asked them once we started going into it, was like, okay, they read the script, obviously, and I was like, what's your interpretation of these two characters? Because I didn't want to put anything into their mind. And they were, every single point that they made, I had on my own list. I think there were just like one point that I didn't think about, which they added that I liked. And unfortunately, we didn't have that much time to rehearse because they flew in like 3 days, 4 days before we shot. So we did all the makeup tests and a few small rehearsals right before that, before we actually got into the shoot. So I'm like, Leo Miel was the best, person to do this, both because they're an amazing actor, but also they had the right features and they had a true understanding of what that journey feels like. So it was a wonderful collaboration, and like on set too, because we were shooting on film, we couldn't really reshoot things multiple times. It had to go, quick. So I was a little bit worried that, oh no, what if they don't get like this part because it's so emotional, and then they were just right in it. And I just want to add one other thing that I realized right before the shoot was that the body double that plays the other person on the other side, his hands were twice as big as Leo, our actor's hand.
Oh no.
So I was like, that's not going to work when you do the skin peeling and all those things. So I looked at my own hands, I measured it with Leo's hands, and then I was like, oh wow, we have the same size hands. So it ended up me being the person who's playing the hand. So and it was beautiful because it was so intimate, being there and being the one to actually peel off.
Such a kind gesture as well.
Yeah, so it was an amazing
I
experience.
think one of my favorite moments in the film is when the actor crosses the mirror, and I wanted to talk about like how did you make that effect so impactful, and I felt it was a combination of practical and like some illusions. Like, how was the process of getting that shot?
When you say crossing the mirror,
Like when the hand is
kind of-
crossing,
it's touching and coming
crossing
through the
to
mirror.
the second world.
Yeah, well,
That's tricky.
that was the whole thing. Initially I planned to do that whole thing as a VFX thing, and then I realized that we need a VFX, supervisor on set. It would be extremely costly. We barely had any time to shoot. And then the VFX artist that I had to do some of the effects of the hand touching the glass and like all these things, he recommended me. He was like, did you ever try Mylar material? And I was like, what's that? No, I never heard about it. And he was like, it's the material they use in like balloons and those kind of things. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I can buy it on Amazon and just check it. And then when I opened it and saw it, I was like, this is amazing. And then I kind of like added elements to our shoot just because of that. We could play with it a lot more and play with identity, you know, when there's the characters splitting into three, when they see themselves, that was because of that material.
And we have 4 different mirrors
Oh,
on
yeah.
set. One is a real mirror, another one is a transparency one. The third one is with the mirror, and we prepare 2 for practice and the real shoot.
It was a lot to think about just because of that, because the mirror, you know, we had to take it out and have that opening to do those kind of shots. And then it was makeup in consideration. Where is the makeup in terms of that? And then was putting the mirror back with the paper and then the actual real mirror. And we needed a frame that kind of looked the same. And then, yeah. And
It
then,
is truly.
And you're shooting on film.
And there's
Yeah.
film.
And you have to do it
course.
one time perfect.
exactly, especially for the skin peeling part.
You should have seen Leo hugging the film rolls like his babies, and he's like, I don't want anyone to touch this until I take it to get processed.
Wow. Well, we have to wrap this up, but I would be amiss if I didn't mention you won a student Oscar at the Student Academy Awards, which is just incredible. Huge congratulations.
Thank you.
We're honored to be sitting here speaking with you. Yeah, do you screened already? Are there going to be other opportunities?
Yes, we just started our festival run, so
Okay.
the student the student Oscars was the first thing we did, and then now we got into AFI FEST, and then we're getting into we're gonna screen it at GLAF, and then now we're waiting to hear back from a bunch of festivals
All
the coming
right.
year.
Fingers
Best of
crossed.
luck.
I
Thank
hope
you so
you
much.
get to a festival where you can see skin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Join us in bridging the gap between talent and crew. Start by subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Sign up for our newsletter to stay up to date on vendor discounts, community events, new podcast releases, and you can educate yourself through our free course releases on YouTube.
It all starts at cinematographyforactors.com, and if you like this episode, consider leaving a review to make it easier for fine folks just like yourself to find us. We have some super exciting news. CFA has teamed up with We Make Movies to offer you a discount on production management services, including access to comprehensive production insurance, workers' comp for your next shoot. All you have to do is visit wemakemovies.com/insurance and use code CFA23 on your intake form for 10% off your quote.
Also, we've just partnered with We Audition, which I'm sure you know I'm very excited about, to offer you 25% off your membership. Use code CFA25 to get that membership for only $7.50 a month or $75 a year.